Touch back for Arfield. 1-0 Burnley. Scott Arfield. He's been threatening that recently. And all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end. Oh, what a goal! What a goal from Robbie Blake! Burnley's first goal in the Premier League is something very, very special.
Wade Elliott has that change of pace and he's got away from Montgomery. It's the path of McCann and the follow-up finds the net. What a strike from Wade Elliott! A bolt from the claret and blue.
Oh goodness me! What a goal from Patterson! If that is to be the one that takes them to Wembley, you cannot argue with that. Pure quality.
Here goes Mike Conroy. Still time for a winner, maybe. John Francis! They came to York in their thousands. They're going home as champions.
I mean, if there's any justice in the world, Burnley would surely score from this corner. Swung right in there. Ball in there. Yeah! Michael Keane! Oh, that's justice! That is justice at the Amex Stadium. Burnley are level and deserve to be.
Hello everybody, welcome along to the latest video on the Turfcast podcast YouTube channel, and it's Derby week, and I didn't really want to do this, but I have to do this. I feel like as a content creator, I should really be diving on Derby week and doing loads of content, so that's what we'll do, but I'm just not looking forward to it in the slightest. I was just saying to the lads, it's not just me chatting, you will hear from Dan from Turf Morehouse very shortly, and Neil, who we have on the show regularly, from Neil as well. And we'll just have like a therapy session. That's what I'm having this. I don't have any plan for this. I was hoping to talk to you about stats and things like that, but I just don't really want to. I don't want to. I've tried to look at Blackburn's sort of like conversion rate from set pieces after how shite we were against Sheffield United. But I'm rubbish at researching stats, if I'm honest with you. So I went on a website, it was all wrong. So I left it at that. But like I said, as I was saying, I feel like as a content creator, we should dive in on stuff like this and trying to get all the views and stuff. But we will be doing that on Turfcast slightly. Before the game, obviously, we're going to do this video. Tomorrow, I'm going to do the usual pre-game show with a horse fiddler. And then on Friday, I'm going to do something then as well. Don't know if I can be arsed on Saturday. I'll probably be too much of a wreck on Saturday. I'll be too much of a wreck. It's weird because I kind of deal with it okay. Like I just take my mind off it, and like, I've even washed up this week. You know what I mean? I'm like, fuck it, I'll just wash up, so I'm not thinking about it. And then it just hits you, and you're like, fuck, we've got to play them on Sunday. I don't like playing them. It's weird. Like I'll bring the lads in a little minute. Get your comments in. Let me know what you're thinking about the game. We've got quite a few viewers in, so please just let us know how your nerves are, what your thoughts are, how you think it's going to go. Me, Neil, and Dan will discuss it briefly. We'll probably be here for around half an hour, 45 minutes. Dan's got to be off for 7, so we will bear that in mind. And my little boy's just got out of the bath as well, so I'm probably going to have to do some parenting sooner rather than later. But it's good to see some people in the chat. We've got Claret Will 1882 who says, I am nervous for Sunday. Me too, mate. Sam says, hello there. Hello, Sam. Hope you well. Icky Punk says, shitty me knickers. Couldn't have put it better myself. And Quilter says, gonna need a few Benny not to settle the nerves this week. I'm going to need a few Bennies and not as well, mate. I think I'm going to need quite a few lagers. Icky Punk also says, stats out the window for a derby. You know that, Joe. To a certain degree, you are correct. And form out the window as well. But I'd like to get more of an idea of how they play. Because I don't know about you. If they're on TV, I don't watch them. I mean, why would I? It's one of them. I'm not going to sit down and watch Blackburn. TikTok says Blackburn set piece record is 21% of goals are from set pieces. Now, I do have some stats here on my screen. Blackburn, they don't score as much as us, and 21% of their goals. So they've only scored 7 goals away from home. that makes me feel a little bit better. 0.7% of their goals. They're scoring 0.7% goals per match, whatever fucking that is. Yeah, as you can tell, I'm pretty nervous. Andy Bennett says, I hope they've had second thoughts about zonal marking, but doubt it. Why change something that's worked all season, mate, until the Sheffield United game? I say all season. We've had we have had pretty poor defensive record in some games, but it's not as bad as people make out. Ryan Collins says, really hope he plays Taylor at left back. Love Markson going forward. There's a weak link in that back line. Other than that, I cannot wait. Mike Forrest says, very nervous. They'll be launching balls at our box after our second half at Sheffield United. Just hope our quality shines through in the end. Yes. Right, Dan, Neil, I'll bring you in. There's Dan. There's Neil. How are we doing, boys?
Evening. You all right?
Sweet as an up.
Yeah. Nervous? How you feeling? Dan, I'll start with you. How's your arse?
Being a ginger, it looks like a chewed orange.
Yep, I would have thought it might do. Neil, how are you feeling?
I think I've said to you, Anna, I've been all right until it's been like the next game, and now it's a little bit like, oh shit.
Yeah. Obviously, as everybody knows, thanks to Sheffield United last night screwing up at home to Rotherham, Burnley will go into the game top of the league. Blackburn will go into the game second. Well, no, actually, if Sheffield United beat whoever they're playing on Saturday, I have no intention of checking who that is. I think it's Stoke, just off the top of my head. Then there will be top. However, whoever wins the game on Sunday will go into the World Cup break top of the league. Dan, I'll start with you again. Does that add that little bit of extra spice, or would you feel the same if it was 15th against 11th?
No, it does have that extra bit of spice, because you sat there as a fan thinking, partly like, yes, we've got to have the upper hand now. With the top two teams, you don't ever want to be below them, because it's just an excuse for them to start firing. Oh, look at you, your manager's shit, blah blah blah. So just being in that higher position than them, we can't get any higher than we currently are at the moment. They've probably got more of an incentive in this game due to the fact that there's only 2 points difference, and they've got a bit more fire in their bellies maybe for it. In that sense, potentially going into it as underdogs. But I'm hoping there's another team in Claret and Blue tonight who will go and kick the living shit out of half of them, and fingers crossed that'll be a nice little earner for us.
Yeah, I do think that I've not seen the Blackburn team yet, because we recorded this at 6:10. I presume they kick off at 2:45. If not, it'll be 8. I'm hoping quite a few of their players, senior players play. I'm hoping Diaz plays. I'm hoping he gets a hamstring. Nothing too much. I don't want him, I don't want a career-ending injury. I don't want to be one of them guys. But a nice little tight hamstring would be lovely. Then he can chill out during the World Cup and be ready to join Leeds in January. But Neil, do you think it adds a bit of spice, the fact that we're top and they're second, and whoever wins the game goes into the World Cup top of the league, or do you feel like it doesn't really matter, like the tension and the nerves would still be the same?
I think the tension and nerves would still be the same, but it definitely adds spice to it. I think
yeah.
When we got relegated, I think they would have been rubbing their hands thinking, oh, they're going to be in free fall. They're going to do a Sunderland, go straight down again. And the fact that we've not, and we're, as a couple of managers have said, one of the best teams in the league, I think has probably added that bit of spice. They'll have a point to prove, saying, oh, you've come down, you think you're the big boys, and try and get stuck into it a little bit, I think.
Yep, fair enough.
And I think what Vinny said earlier as well, have you seen his press conference where he said that in order to give the derby the importance...
Yeah, it's not complimenting him at all, is it?
So I think that's probably fired them a little bit as well.
To be fair, he did that last night as well, though, at the end of the Crawley game. I think Ellis Lee, who does it all with him, said towards the end, now on to Sunday, what's your thoughts on that? And he was sort of like, we parked this one now. And sort of didn't really say much about it, but he had that sly little smirk on his face as though like, we know what we've got to do. And that's the best thing I love about Kompany. He does not play down a derby now. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, well, he's got quite experience, playing in derbies, hasn't he? Of course, the Manchester derby, I played in that quite a few times. I went on the game last night, and I saw Matt Lawton afterwards, and I said to him, what are you thinking about Sunday then? And he didn't give much away either, to be fair. He didn't say he was confident. He didn't say he weren't confident, but he just said, look, we've already spoken about it this week. The gaffer just spoken about it to us again. Then just sort of like reiterating it to us all how important it is. And I said to him, "You played in one of these before, haven't you?" He's like, "Yeah, I played in the one where Andre got the winner from that penalty." Like, yeah. So you know how much it means, don't you? He's like, "Yeah, definitely." I said, "Right, well, you need to tell all these new, whether you're in the team or not, mate. You need to tell all these new lads." And that little thing does worry me a little bit. I know we've got Jay, I know we've got Matt who's played in it, I know we've got Barnes there, and I think Charlie Taylor's probably played in it as well. Actually, no, I think he will have just missed out actually because we signed him when we went up, didn't we? He might have played in the League Cup one, but I do worry that the new lads might be in for a bit of a shock. Not that they won't know how big it is because everyone's played in a derby, everyone knows what a derby game is. But I feel like they might be in for a bit of a shock when they hear the atmosphere come out, and obviously they'll fill the away end as you'd expect. They'll probably make a lot of noise. There'll be a lot of tension. If a couple of bad passes go astray, there's going to be a few people whinging just naturally. But Dan, do you think the new lads could be in for a shock, or do you think they'll take it all in the stride?
It goes back to like what you said. Company saying still at Benson, Vitinho, Zarora. They're still adapting to this division. But this is the sort of game where you can weed out the men, the boys amongst the men. This is where they're going to get kicked early, knocked about for fun, and if they don't sort of match them for that, then we could easily get picked out. So yeah, it does worry you a little bit in that sense that we do need to be a little bit stronger and have a bit of aggression in our play as well.
Yeah, Tinga72 says, I can see the horse fiddlers coming to just putting the boot in on Benson and Zarora. They'll do all they can to try and break the play up and make us use subs early. It'll be spicy, which kind of reiterates what you just said there, Dan. But Neil, do you think that's what they're going to do? Do you think they're going to come in and try and kick 10 lumps of shit out of us? Or do you think we're giving them a little bit of a disservice there and they're a better football inside than that?
I think they're a good football inside, but I think that's what they'll do. I mean, if you look at our main creative outlet for the last few games has been Benson. So they'll definitely target him, and because he's not the biggest of lads, all it's going to take is just someone to go through him. And same for Zarori. I think they'll be focusing on them two definitely because they've been our main threats, haven't they, in the last few weeks?
Yeah, they've been. Benson especially. Zarori were class for so long. Then he's gone a little bit quiet because after that Sunderland game, I noticed that teams were doubling up on him, kicking him a little bit. And then that gave sort of like Benson the sort of like license to sort of like, because they're focusing on somebody else, so then Benson's done it. I think it'll be difficult to kick 10 bells of shit out of two players at once, but I think they will give it a good goal. But I do think they're a better football inside than that. I do think they'll try and attack us as well, rather than just focus on sitting back. And basically bullying us, which I think could work in our favour a little bit. It's weird. Like I watched them. I say I don't watch them, but I sort of will sometimes watch the highlights if I know they've got beat. And the goal that they conceded against not Sunderland, Coventry, it was so poor. It was so poor. Like they did this half-arsed press where a few players went towards them, and then they were all just like out of position. And then it was so easy for Coventry to get in between the lines.
But look,
we're really good at beating the press. So if they do that against us, then I think we'll get some joy against them. But I think they'll have watched the Sheffield United game.
I was going to say that defending by Matson, like you can see, like THB, we're just ready to probably go over to man like Ian and give him a cheeky dig at Temple because he's not coming back. He weren't. He was just sort of stood there, looked like he was playing more CDM than all else. Yeah. I mean, okay, we saw Patrice Evra, Man United, bomb forward and not come back for 90 minutes. But we're not Man United. He's not Patrice Evra. Is Ian Matson get back and defend by?
Yeah, what would you do then, Neil? Just going on from what Dan just mentioned there. Obviously, Matson didn't play very well against Sheffield United. It was very easy to bully him. He wasn't tracking back. I've said it before a few times. He was my favourite signing. It was Matson until the Blackpool game where he lost his head, and then he wasn't playing well before that either. Then he lost his head and he got sent off. He lost his head against, was it Reading, when they should have had a penalty? There's been little moments of idiocy from Matson for me. Exactly. It's exactly that. But do you drop him for this game then, Neil? And you've mentioned their lack of experience, or do you keep him, or do you bring somebody like Charlie Taylor, who hasn't played left back yet this season, by the way? A lot of people saying they want Charlie Taylor to play left back. Let's not. I don't know.
They could have Roberts play left back. yesterday.
Yeah, Connor played it last night. We had Louts on the right and Connor on the left, but it was a typical Vinny formation where yes, he was on the left, but he was very rarely at left back. It was pushed forward quite a lot, kind of then creating like a 3-4-3, if you will, when we have the ball, and then quickly flooding back into that left back position when we didn't have the ball. But what would you do then, Neil? Dan, I'll come to you on this one in a minute as well. But what would you do, Neil? Would you start Matson? Would you drop him? And if you are dropping him, who are you bringing in at left back?
I'd be tempted to play Taylor because it's not the game to lose your head, and that's exactly what Blackburn will be trying to do. They'll know that he does lose his head, and they'll have seen that against Reading and know that he's got that in him. And I don't think it's the game to lose your head. But equally, we've already said Company knows the importance of this derby. He's not a stranger to it. So whether he's drilled it into him or not and prepped him or not, I don't know. But I'd not change the way we play. I don't think Company will change anything about the way we play. But I think it's probably best going for Charlie Taylor at left back.
Yeah. David says there, you can see it on the bottom of your screen, swap the fullbacks for Tino Mortensen as they can't defend. We have great defenders in Charlie Taylor and Connor Roberts, and them two are better defensively. But I don't know. I feel like changing both the fullbacks might be too much of a change. I don't know, because they're a very big part of how we play at the fullbacks and how they get forward. Yes, we are sometimes susceptible at the back because they get forward too much, but I don't want to take too much of our attacking threat away. So I'm undecided on what to do.
It's
Dan,
more
Sorry,
that keeping that experience for me is making sure we haven't got anybody who's going to lose their head, because that's what they're going to try and do. Yeah.
Well, what would you do then, Neil? Would you have Roberts at right back as well and pretty much do what David's just mentioned?
Yeah, I probably would. would. Yeah. He's stronger. It will change the way we play a little bit, but it's just that experience at the back, especially with the way our defending's been the last 3-4 games.
Yeah. Dan, what about yourself? What do you do?
It's a strange one, because Blackburn sort of they'll be happy the fact that we're playing a high line. I've noticed that they like to take advantage of teams playing a high line. I mean, you've got the fake Chilean bastard up top who just likes to send people wide. So that's why I think we would be better with someone like Charlie Taylor out there, who will stand tall, won't go in early. He'll know what's coming. He'll read the game well. But also, we've seen with Taylor as well how much he can get down the bar line. So, it's just about whether Vinny's seen that. And I noticed, I think it was against Sunderland, even though Sunderland absolutely bossed that game, they still came out with the 3 points, but they kept pushing wide, and then you're drawing defenders out of position because you're already playing a high line, so your centre-back's having to come across and sort of double up. That way, it's just giving a free run to Bradley Dack, who I hope, like his missus is ruled out on medical grounds, will sort of, obviously we'll keep him quiet and give him a cheeky knock. But yeah, Taylor for me, I think give Taylor a chance. Similar to Louts at right back, we've been saying it, and I was saying it to Simon when watched him in the under-23s a few weeks back. He's probably better at right back than Connor Roberts.
Yeah, I think in the role where you drift into centre back, I think Lawton will be better. Lawton played very well last night. I know it's not fashionable to like Lawton anymore for some reason, but he played very well last night. However, as I said in the 60-second review, I do think it's quite easy to play on a right-hand side with Benson, because the amount of runs that he makes, you're always going to be able to pick him out. And that's exactly what Lawton did last night. I'm kind of on my own with this one. I think, well, I say on my own. Harry said what I'd do. I think changing both fullbacks, I don't know. I think it's too much of a change. Rather play to our strengths on the front foot and then just more defensively. I just Sheffield United. I don't think it was because we had a bad defense. I just think we just weren't organised. Like we have a good goalkeeper there who made some good saves. He's just not the best at coming and collecting crosses. And you've got two central defenders in there. And what they did, they both just went the central defenders in the back line just went too deep. And then Sheffield United exploited that. And then Muric couldn't get out. And then he's looking like he's flapping and people are complaining about him. I just feel like if there was one Ben Mee in there, or one James Tarkowski, or one Nick Pope, or just one of them players who organised us better, I don't think that would have happened at Sheffield United. They might have equalised and they might have gone on to win the game, but I don't think we'd have capitulated like that, if I'm honest. So I'm similar to Harry. Just be better defensively rather than changing.
I was just thinking there, Joe, what we'd give to have Ben Mee in that back four on Sunday.
Yeah. Definitely. Someone like that who's been there a while,
Yeah.
who's done it already. I know Vinny's speaking well about it, and I kind of feel like Brownhill gets it. And I know JBG's probably played in one of them before. And Jay definitely gets it. But I don't know, just somebody at the back who gets it and gets us and just can organise us a little bit. That's what we missed against Sheffield United. Like, I'm not being funny, I'm not being disrespectful to Rotherham. But if they can go and get a result there, then we're more than capable of getting a result there. They just exploited our weaknesses. But yeah, that's the back line. Anybody got any issues with Muric on the panel? Or I know some people saying get Bailey Peacock Farrell in. I mean, I think that's personally ridiculous.
I like him. I think I said I personally, other than the first one, he could have done a bit better against Sheffield United. I don't think he was a blame for any of those goals. The ball was just ping ponging around. What's he supposed to do? It was bad defending all around. I don't really know how he could be blamed for 3 of those goals.
No, I agree. Dan, I presume you're same,
I second that, you've got to think he's a new signing. He's still settling into the club. So when he comes in, you've got pre-match nerves because you're playing in front of a new crowd that you're hoping to put in good performances for. And sometimes that can, affect your mind because you're thinking about trying to put in that good performance more than thinking about the tactics you've been told, a little bit of both. Especially as a keeper, you stood there for most of the game, especially now, the way we're playing, when we see most of the ball and the keeper's just sat there going, right, well, I ain't got much to save because opposition aren't going to get enough of it. So that's another thing when we were talking about Blackburn set pieces earlier. They've got to get the ball off us first to get them set pieces. So we shall see.
I was talking to a Sheffield United fan reluctantly after the game, a guy that I work with, and he was saying, like, they weren't that good at set pieces usually, but every single cross that they put in were a brilliant cross. He's like, normally, the few will hit the first man or whatever. They were just very good on the day. So even he was sort of like saying, I can't believe how quickly you capitulated, but that wouldn't happen again. Like, we wouldn't be as good as that again. And then Rotherham last night, obviously they weren't that good last night, but Preston, when we played Preston, I know you went, Dan, but they tried to pepper us with crosses. All right, they scored one, and it finished 1-1. But they only scored one. They didn't score 5, 4 crosses like Sheffield United did. So it's one of them. Like, are Blackburn as good at putting the ball in the box as Sheffield United are? No. Do they have someone in the box that will be as good as Ollie McBurney? Probably, yeah. Berrington Diaz, I think, is better than Ollie McBurney. However, is he going to get as good service as what McBurney and the Sheffield United lads got on Saturday? I'm not so sure. So, it's one of them. A lot of people are panicking about that set piece thing and the crosses thing. But we're not going to play a team as good as Sheffield United again this season, especially at Sheffield. That will be the toughest game we have this season. And in fact, I'd still believe Burnley and Sheffield United are the best 2 teams in the league. So,
I want to say, aren't we only their 2nd or 3rd defeat at Bramall Lane in something like 23 games?
What's that, sorry?
We're only there something like the 3rd team that they've beaten that
they've beaten at Bramall Lane. I'm not sure, to be honest.
No, they've only. Sorry, I think they've only lost 3 at Bramall Lane for a good number of games.
Yeah, it's a tough place to go. Like I say, that us and them, and I think I'd still stand by it. If I'm being honest, I think when they have all their players, I do think they are the best team in the league. I think they proved that on Saturday because they didn't even have all the best players. But then they go and trip up at home to Rotherham, so their inconsistencies there. But Blackburn aren't as good as Sheffield United. Blackburn are an okay side. Well, no, let's be honest, they're a decent side. But I don't think we need to panic as much on the set pieces and the crosses, and lo and behold, now we'll get beat 4-0 to 4 crosses, and some Blackburn fan will clip that bit up and make me look like a knob. But it is what it is.
I think that performance at Sheffield United has been coming as well. I think that was just a culmination of stuff. It's been coming, and it's like we've got that out of our system now. And
it's like you say as well, things even themselves out, Neil, as well, don't they? Like, yes, Reading should have had a penalty, so has that evened itself out with that Sheffield United game? The fact that the Rotherham manager whinging that it should have been their throw-in for our winner, as it sort of evened itself out. And it's come at the perfect time, though. It's come at the perfect time. Get this bit of a dick in, and then we know full well we've got to put it right because it's a massive, massive game. So this is where we've got to lace the boots up and go for the kill.
Yeah, it's one of them, like, were Blackburn looking at that game? I know how I'd feel if I were a Blackburn fan. Watching your rivals and your team you're just about to play, if they were getting dicked 5-2 and getting absolutely bullied after only losing 1 in 17, I'd be thinking, shit, wounded animal now. They're going to come at us. They're going to learn from the mistakes. So do you think they were looking at us, looking at our result, thinking, oh shit, Burnley are going to be a wounded animal here, or do you think they were looking at our result, licking the lips? Neil, I'll start with you.
Wounded animal, because I think if we hadn't have lost that, there was a defeat coming. I think I said in one of the full times there was a defeat coming, and I think if it weren't that game, they'd be thinking, "Oh, it's going to happen." But now that they know, I've got to word this right. Now that they know that we know what our weaknesses are, we'll have addressed that.
Yeah,
or you'd hope. So
you'd hope so. Yeah, Dan, what do you think? Do you think they were licking the lips, looking at the way we capitulated against Sheffield United, or do you think they'll be worried about a wounded animal on Sunday?
Yeah, again, what Neil said, wounded animal. I think the fan base will be licking the lips a bit. Going, whee, finally, it's not all sunshine and rainbows over the turf. There is a sprinkle of the old shitty rain and stuff like that. So the fans will be sort of happy and made up, but the players will be like, right, this is tough. This is tough on the back of a defeat. Only our second defeat all season. We're not gonna lie down and take that.
No, and obviously only lost at home once since what is it, that 30-40 odd games, and annoyingly the last team to beat us, I didn't realise it was Preston.
Yeah, Preston 2015.
Yeah, 2-0, weren't it? I remember being pretty fuming on that game. Just be our luck, wouldn't it? We lose to Preston at home in 2015. Don't lose at home again in the Championship all the way to bloody 2022, and it ends up being them. But I want to talk about Benson because he's class. As is Rory. He was so good again last night. I mean, I was playing Crawley, but I
wasn't expecting
very,
him to
very
play
good
last night. Vinny rotated, but not anywhere near as much as I thought he was going to.
Yeah, even playing people like Loughton and Roberts, you know what I mean? Like Loughton's got so many, Premier League appearances and stuff. I didn't say Premier League caps, but Premier League appearances. He's got so much experience in the Premier League. Same with Connor Roberts. So it was a very, very, very strong squad. And then obviously, like you say, you got Benson in there. Barnsley, who's got all that experience, even if he's on the over the hill a little bit. But do we start him on Sunday? Like, it's one of them. Like, do you and Zaroury as well? Like, I personally would only start one of them, and I'm thinking, I might sound crazy, but I'm thinking start Zaroury, but don't start Benson. And then if they want to go and kick 10 bells of shit out of Zaroury, then fine, let them do it. Hopefully it's still 0-0, or there's only one goal in it on the 60th minute if we are behind. Bring Benson on then. They're all knackered. And then Benson can go at him. Like Chronicles of Charles already disagreeing with me. He says Benson has to start on Sunday for me, and I get that because I do think he's our best player, if I'm being honest with you. But I'm just worried that in the first 5 minutes, they've done a couple of knee-high tackles on Zaroury and Benson, and then none of them fancy it. So Dan, I'll start with you. What would you do then for Zaroury and Benson? Are you starting them both? Are you resting one, resting them both? What do you want to do?
Yeah, I'd rest Benson. Let him get a feel for the game by watching it. Because that's where it seems to be a bit stronger. Yes, okay, came in, has done well, got the 2 goals against Sheffield, but get a feel for it. Sit from that bench, watch it. Just because at least then he's going to get a feel of the atmosphere, a feel of the way they're playing. Come on, as you said, when they're blowing out their arse, he comes on, makes them look like Muppets, and we're just sat there applauding his just pure brilliance, and we take it from there.
Yeah, Neil, what would you do with with Benson?
There's a couple of people commented saying that 3 starts in a week's unlikely for Benson, and I agree. I agree with that comment you just put up. I don't think he would have played yesterday if he was going to start. So I think he's going to go with Zaroury and then do what Benson's done, bring him on to change the game later on.
Yeah, I agree. Graham Jennings says, tell us Zaroury and Jay to start. I presume obviously with Brownhill in behind. Quilter says, start Teller and Benson. So Teller and Zaroury has corrected himself later on. Start Teller and Zaroury. Benson as a super sub then. Could even bring Vitinho on higher up the pitch as a second impact sub. Icky Punk says 3 starts in a week unlikely for Benson, who previously was a last 25-min super sub. True Red says Benson is better as an impact sub because if you look at where he started games, Benson has been lacking on a few occasions. And Harriet says Teller with a week's rest could be massive. I'd start him and Benson, then bring on Benson in the last. So and then again he's corrected himself. Start Teller and Zaroury. So weirdly, I thought I'd get a few pelters for that one, but I think most people agree with me. So team then, lads. Like, I think the issue that a lot of people are going to have here are the fullbacks, and that's where a lot of the debate is going to come from. Like, what fullbacks are you having? I personally, I don't know. I like Ian Martson, but he's been a little bit poor recently. So I don't know. I don't know if to stick with Martson or not. I would personally have Connor Roberts at right back to give us that bit of defensive stability, and maybe have Martson on the left, and then hopefully, if he's pushing forward, have the other three move over, the three that are better at defending, and then Connor Roberts can slot in if he really needs to have the experience. Yeah, and then I'm thinking up front, obviously Jay in the main role with Brownhill behind him. I'd have Zarore and Teller on the wings, and then obviously you've got Cork and Cullen in sort of like the double pivot role. What are you two thinking? Neil, I'll start with you on this one. Any sort of like changes to that squad? Is something you do differently? What would you do?
No, I'd probably go for that one. And then Teller's gone a bit quiet for me. I think he's quiet off a little bit, but I'd rather play him and then bring Benson on. Just for what we were saying about not playing Zarori and Benson at the same time. So probably the same team for me, but I think I'd go for definitely Taylor at left back.
Yeah. I think Icky Punk agrees with you. Says, I can't trust Martson in such a big game. Lad is a loose cannon. Sam McGrath asks a question. Yeah, Sam McGrath asks a question. Vitinho left back, Roberts right back. Potentially. Vitinho played in left back a little bit at the start of the season, didn't he, when I think Martson was injured. I don't know, he wasn't as good there as he was at right back. Is there anything you do differently, Dan? What would you do, team-wise?
Jensen in goal, Sinclair right back, John Hallett left. No, to be honest.
Get beat there. We'll definitely get beat.
The own goal king. No, I'm pretty much happy enough with the squad that you guys have put forward. I think, as you said, it's a full-back battle. And, I wouldn't like to be in company's shoes when he has to choose this squad.
Yeah, it's a difficult one because I feel like if you take both of our fullbacks out, then you change the way that we play. But then we look so susceptible to the crosses coming in against Sheffield United. And then when the crosses were coming in, we weren't dealing with them in the middle. So it is a tough one. This fullback situation is definitely a tough one.
I think we come to this, if it's not working, he'll change it, won't he? We know that already. He's not scared of changing it. So if it's not working, he'll change it.
Yeah, he definitely did that up at Sunderland, and he's done it after a few games before. True Red says Martson loses his head at times when there's no need to. We saw that against Blackpool. Yeah, I do agree with that, and I do think Blackburn will potentially target him if that is the case and he is playing. But I don't know. Like, I don't want to change both fullbacks. I think it will be too big of a change. So maybe Taylor at left back, but again, he's not played there all season in this new sort of role, so that does worry me a little bit. With Vinny on the right, but who knows? We'll leave that one up to company. That's why he's the highest paid manager in the Championship, and we're just not. You've mentioned Teller there, Neil, and again, I'll start with you, just simply because you've just mentioned him. Then, why do you think he's gone quiet recently? Because it's been so weird. Like at the start of the season, and it's been good that this has happened because this shows how good our squad is. But at the start of the season, Martson was a standout player, not just the best signing, but the standout player for me in our squad. Then it was Brownhill, then it was Teller, then it was Zarore, and now it's Benson. So we've always seemed to have a different player who's being the standout player, and Teller has been pretty quiet since he was a standout player. Now, why do you think he's gone quiet? Just think it's too many games, or catching up with him?
It's probably peaks and troughs, isn't it? Yeah, players go through that through a season. It probably is that. I mean, I'm a bit concerned that it's coincided with all that talk about him being recalled in January, and then Southampton have sacked the manager, and his form seems to have dipped since there's been the rumours of him going back. It's just it happens to a player, doesn't it? You're on form and then it goes off a little bit. I mean, he's not been poor. He's just not been as quiet as good as he has been. He's just been a bit more. So whether it's just that Benson's overshadowed, I don't know. But he just doesn't seem to have quite been the same in the last few games.
Yeah, Dan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think back to the Rotherham game. There were a few times Jay were going skips at Teller, saying, "What we're getting to the byline. Why? I'm coming to the front post, trying to draw people away. Why aren't you in the middle of the park to sort of finish the move?" There are a few situations like that. And as you say, it could just be one of them where one bad game has sort of played on his mind a little bit. And we all say about footballers, okay, you park it, you move to the next game, but we're all human at the end of the day, and it could have affected him. But Neil's got a point. All the drama and all the camaraderie about the loss of manager, potentially having to go back, so a new manager might want to have a look at him. It's a tough situation as a Burnley fan. You're thinking, brilliant, he's dropped off a little bit. Maybe if he keeps sort of just being level-headed, maybe not amongst the goals, see January through and then start firing on all cylinders again. But you know what? It could be a blessing in disguise. As we said, we're saying about Benson back on the bench. Everyone will be doubling up on Zaroury. Does that give Teller a bit of a free run?
Yeah, true. I'd love to see Teller, because at the start of the season, or when Teller was on it, people were talking to me that weren't Burnley fans and stuff like, "Oh, how have you got him? He's a Premier League player in the Championship." And I'm like, he is at the minute. He's playing really well. But then a lot of Southampton fans used to always say like, "Oh, he don't have great end product and stuff." And I was thinking, well, look at the goals he's scored. He clearly does. And I'm kind of seeing that he might be a little bit inconsistent. But again, that'll be his inexperience and stuff like that. And hopefully he can keep getting better and things like that. But as David does say, he says, they both can't be tired on Sunday. Everyone needs to be on it. Teller will be fine with a week's rest. And I kind of agree with that. I just think that maybe there's been too many games for Teller, because he probably won't have played. I mean, I don't know. I've not checked this, but he probably won't have played this much in such a short space of time in his career. With such high intensity. Well, exactly. Yeah. The league's intense. So the way that we play now is intense. There's a lot of pressing up there that we do. And Teller's a big part of it. And I think that's part of the reason why he was brought in, because he's so fast and he's so quick and he's so agile. So I think that'll be part of it. But yeah, hopefully after the rest, he will be at it. Now, we've discussed the game enough. So let's, instead of discussing the game, we'll do the last couple of things. Let's just look back on some memories of Derby Day. Like your favourite memory, because obviously there's the Danny Ings goal, there's the Scott Arfield goal. There's a time we went to Ewood and basically played the reserve team and just absolutely dominated them. But one of my standout memories, and even though we lost the game, was Micah Hyde's goal, because it was the first time that I'm a similar age to Neil. I think I'm a little bit older than you, Neil, but a similar age to Neil. So that had been the first time I saw Burnley score against them, and it was a fucking pot-luck hit. Like, there's no way he meant it. He actually tried to control it. Watch the video if you've got time later, everybody. But he actually tried to control it. It was a throw-in from, I don't know, Frank Sinclair, I guess. I could be wrong. And Micah Hyde tried to control it, missed the control, and just thought, sorry, I'm hitting it. And he went all the way over Friedel and looped in. And I seem to remember, like, it were like in the 43rd minute or something like that. I just remember when he hit it, I went, oh, for God's sake. And then I looked down and I seen Friedel looping and then the net just rippling. And I went sick. I don't remember anything until like 5 minutes into half time, because I was going that sick. But I won't say it's my favourite memory. My favourite memory is probably the Danny Ings goal, if I'm being honest. But it's always a standout memory, is that from me. But Dan, what are your thoughts? Your favourite Derby Day memory?
Yeah, I think it's strange, because it's sort of very similar to yourself, but it was the first fixture, the 0-0 at the Turf. It was just everything. I lived on Eastern Avenue at the time, so the coaches were coming past the house. I'm stood outside as like a 10, 11-year-old flicking V's, looking back, hoping my mum's not watching. And it was just sort of, that was my first taste of that. However, as you said, the Danny Ings one is up there. You've got grown men who haven't seen us beat, but have been in over 30 odd years. And they're like, wow, like, I've seen this, I can die happy. You've got grown men in tears, people hugging their fathers, their sisters, whatever. Don't quote me on that, Blackburn. I hope none of you are watching. Hugging sisters, don't be getting.
Hey, you could have picked a better term than that, though.
Yeah, I could have done. They'll all be like, but no, just that whole day. The fact it weren't even so much the game. Like, the game was exquisite. We did what we had to do, saw the game out, but it was getting back on them battle buses afterwards, travelling along the motorway, people with flags over motorway bridges. It was like we'd won the World Cup. It was like, literally, this was the be-all and end-all. There was people that have been waiting for that full-time whistle, going, spraying bed sheets and just hanging them over thing, and coaches pipping their horns, just the whole thing was an absolute masterclass and probably one of the best highlights under the Dash era.
Yeah, Icky Punk says Kevin Ball challenge on Done on Turf, proper blood and thunder, straight through the sea next Tuesday. Yeah, I do remember that. Obviously, it's a shame he got sent off for it, isn't it? But I don't have many good memories. Yeah, I don't have many good memories of that game, to be honest. So I kind of always forget about that. And that season, obviously, what happened at Ewood was horrendous. Sam McGrath says Junior Stanislas goal at the Turf. I mean, that were a good goal as well, to be fair. I don't think it gets as much credit, again, probably because we didn't win the game. But I don't know. I feel like the derby died a bit around then, like, didn't it? Like, even when I watched that Junior Stanislas goal yesterday, and I was shocked to see how low the attendance was. And I think this is why people give the derby, like our derby, a bit of a bad rep, because like there's going to be like 22,000 on Turf, probably a little bit less due to segregation, and probably like 28,000 at Ewood. So people think, oh, it can't be that big of a derby if you're only getting that. But the sheer hatred is what makes this derby a good derby. One of Harry's best memories says telling me dad their shit after Scarfield scored. Your dad, I'm going to say, yeah, your dad must be a bastard then, and he is. Sorry to call your dad that, but it's factual. Neil, your favourite memories then of Derby Day?
Yeah, it's the Ings one at Ewood, isn't it? Because that was it. That's what sort of cemented us as the top dogs. It had been so long then, and then we had a few draws, and then it was like, now it's our turn. And then same as what Dan was saying, I love the buzz about it all, and I'm really surprised it's not coaches and that again Sunday, because that's all part of it for me.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm a little bit worried about that. I'm not going to bother going in town. It'll be a wars or
it'll be in town, won't it?
Yeah. I'm not going to bother going in town because of that. Whatever that username is, says Ashley Barnes winner on Sunday. You heard it here first. Hopefully the game's put to bed by the time Ashley Barnes comes on, because if we haven't scored and Ashley Barnes comes on and it's 0-0, my dad always turns and says to him when Barnsley comes on, and he goes, well, that's us not scoring this week in this game then. Chronicles of Chard says, I remember going to Ewood away on the bus and Robbie Savage was outside the ground and all the Burnley fans were giving him the V's and Robbie was chuckling away. It's weird. Like, obviously I'm 34 now. I've only ever seen us beat Blackburn once at the Turf. It's bad, that, isn't it? 34 years old.
Yeah, but we haven't played them for that long as well.
We haven't, but still, like, looking back in my lifetime now, they beat us 5-0 at Ewood. They beat us 3-2 in the Premier League. They beat us. Is that the only times they've beaten us? Oh, 2-1 in the FA Cup replay, the Micah Hyde one. So even there, you know, a 34-year-old Blackburn fan would have seen it 3 times. I don't know. You just don't get. What I would love to do, and again, feel free to clip this up, Blackburn fans, if this ends up being horrendously wrong. I would love to get revenge for that 5-0. Just dick them 5-0. I don't think we will, if I'm being brutally honest with you. I think they are better than what we were back then. We were terrible back then. But I just love to get revenge for that. I just love to dick them 5-0 or 6-0.
You've got a point. I mean, look at Swansea. Swansea were banging form. In fact, probably the most informed team in the Championship at the time. Look at their results at the time. They were winning like 3-2, 4-0, whatever, all over the shop. Then they've got the 4-0 loss to us, and then they went back to winning ways again. Yeah. So it's like, if Blackburn are coming here thinking they're just going to come here and think, they're on the back of a 5-2 loss. You know, Swansea, came here, had a good solid 6 minutes, and after that, arse fell out. Who's to say that they're not going to do the same?
Yeah, I mean, they are the informed team in the Championship, but we're the third informed team. It's not like we are bang out of form. So it's one of them, like, it's 2 informed teams going at each other, attacking in certain ways, which will be good. But I did see a stat somewhere, and I've lost it now. I did want to bring it on screen. I found it. So Blackburn have the best home record in the league. Obviously, we all know that Blackburn have won most games in the Championship with, is it 10, 11? I don't know off the top of my head. But they've also lost the same amount as teams that are hovering above the relegation zone. So they're obviously a very good side who can win games, but they're also a very beatable side. And the flip side to that is, of course, as I said, Blackburn have the best home record in the league with 8 home wins and just 2 home defeats. But the team with the second best home record in the league is the Clarets, with 6 home wins, 4 draws and 0 defeats. And Blackburn, if you look at the away league table, are all the way down in 16th. They've only won, only won 4 times at home all season, but they have lost 6 games away from home. So they are very, very, very beatable. It's not beyond the realms of possibility that they will get a result, but they are very, very, very beatable. So obviously, as I'll get predictions off the Blackburn fan tomorrow. I'm not going to give mine yet because I've got to do a pre-game show tomorrow. And everybody watching in the comments, get your predictions in. Even if you're a bastard, you will get blocked after giving your prediction. But even if you're a bastard, give your prediction in. But yeah, Neil, I'll start with you. Predictions for the game in terms of scoreline. I know it's difficult. It's going to be so hard to predict.
I've had visions. You know that photo of Trips at Ewood where he's giving it the big one. I've got visions of that happening again, but it's Jay.
Yeah.
And
doing the chicken dance in front of him.
Yeah. So I don't think we'll dick him. I really don't. I mean, it'd be great if we do. So clip this up if we do, because I would love it. I don't think we'll dick him. I think it'll be a 1-2.
Go on, Neil. Go all full Keegan. I would love it.
Love it. I would love it. I think it'll be 1-2-0. I can't see us absolutely dicking them because they're better than that. And the game means as much to them as it does to us. So I think it.
Yeah, of course.
1-0, 2-0. But yeah, I'll take a 5-0 if it's on offer.
Yep, fair enough. Dan, predictions?
I'll tell you what. I'll fire it back. Would you be happy with a point?
I just don't want. Ultimately, I don't want to get beat. Of course, would I be happy with a point? Don't think I'd be happy. I'd be happy not to get beat. Ultimately, it's a don't lose game. It's not you have to win game. It's a do not lose this game. I would take a point now if you offered me a point, but I would reluctantly take a point. I wouldn't be happy with it. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody, but it does in my head. I'd take one. So
take a point.
I won't be happy with it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, for me, I'm going to go with that. I think there's been a lot where we've sort of, like we say, form goes out the window, stats don't mean shit. So I'd snap your hand off for a point now. Although the way we're going with last minute winners and sending fans into a frenzy.
Oh no.
Woo-wee.
No, I don't think I'd be. I think I would genuinely just drop dead. If we scored in the 110th minute
I'm not wearing my grey joggers, mate. I'm not wearing my grey joggers because piss stains will come straight through.
Yeah, see it a mile away. Getting some comments. Sorry, go on, Neil.
This team's going to kill us with these last-minute goals. I said to you before, they've been dead for me, this team.
Especially us the wrong side of 30, Neil. Definitely.
Well,
hey, I'm with you. I'm with you. I am 31. I'm with you.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were to be honest, Dan. I thought you were sort of like 26, 27. Sort of.
Yeah, I'm not in that.
No, just because I'm built like a newborn down there.
You're 30, aren't you, Neil?
40.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. I seem to remember you other day say having a 30th birthday party, but now I'm looking back at your 40th.
Yeah. No, I don't look
the other day, Neil. Yeah, you don't look it, to be fair.
Yeah. But
so earlier on when I'm like, I'm a bit older than you, Neil. I'm not, so we'll just quickly get that on.
No, I kept quiet because I thought I'll take that.
Yeah. But yeah. So we've had some predictions coming in. Nigel Pickles says 4-0 Clarets. True Red says, you need to change your name to True Claret now, by the way, mate. You're on my streams all the time, and I know you're on Dan's a lot. Burnley 2 Bastards 1 up the Clarets. Icky Punk says 4-0 the Clarets. Harry says 5-0 Burnley. Barnes to score a hat-trick and not Diaz at full time. I think the only part of that you've got right is probably nutting Diaz at full time. I think that may happen. Icky Punk says one thing for certain, it won't be a draw. You say that, but when it's such a derby and it's so tense, I can't see, if it is 1-1 with the 80th minute, I just can't see any team going for it. I think most teams would be like, just don't lose it.
I don't know if that's in
72.
our nature. I don't know if it's in our nature to not go for the win.
Maybe not. I don't know though. Could you imagine if we went for it and then got fucking sucker punched on counter attack? I'd be livid. I'm like, why have you done that against these?
Especially when they're a side that love to play on the counter.
Yeah. I agree. Anyway, like I said, Dan needs to be gone in 8 minutes, so we will start wrapping it up. If you want to go and watch Dan's stream, where are you now, Dan? Are you on your own channel? Somebody else's channel?
I'm on Chris's channel from Leicester Till I Die. We're trying to pick out our England squad for the World Cup, so that should be fun. And I'm just going to have to listen to him waffling on about why Maddison should be there, probably for about 40 minutes. So
yeah, fair enough. So if you do want to break from the Burnley Blackburn stuff take your mind off it a bit, head over there. And Neil, I presume you'll find you'll see Neil on Turfcast quite a lot over the next few months. But if you want to follow him on Twitter, it's just at Neil Layfield, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, there you go. So you can watch Neil there. If you've come to the stream late, then once the live has ended, you can, because the numbers have gone up loads in the last like 10, 20 minutes. We've got around 70 odd watching the stream now live, which is very, very good. So if you join the stream late, and you want to watch it from the beginning, as soon as I end this stream, you can watch it at your leisure whenever you want. This will not be available as a podcast, though. This is a YouTube exclusive, if you want to call it that. But of course, we will be doing the usual podcast tomorrow when I chat to a Blackburn fan who hasn't actually messaged back. So maybe he will let me down. But just quickly,
Who's bottled it?
Who's bottled it?
Blackburn
the Blackburn fan. Yeah, I hope not, because I need to do a pre-game show. Just quickly, the Blackburn team for tonight's game. I know people don't care, but there's no Brereton Diaz. He's on the bench. Hopefully he comes on, gets a hamstring. That's all I'm bothered about. The rest of them, I've not heard of any of them. Bradley Dack's there, to be fair, but he doesn't really play much these days anyway. But yeah, as I was saying, if you want to watch the show, then it stays on YouTube after live is finishing. You watch it at your leisure. But thanks everybody for watching. I'll be back tomorrow, be back on Friday, and then if we win, I'll do a lot of post-game content. But if we get beat, you'll see me after the World Cup. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See you later.